This is the story of a terrifying entity granted a reprieve of 1,000 nights to do as he pleased, only to lose count of the days in his negligence. My first death sentence was handed down by the government for the murder of 3 individuals a mere 4 hours after the verdict. I killed 3 more and fled from the country into the mountains, eventually crossing the border. For a year, I committed no crimes, but after that year, I felt myself becoming a decent man. What could be more terrifying than that? I did not want to be decent. That title was empty for me. I had been very decent once. For 8 years, I toiled in the coal mines, working double shifts to earn enough for my mother's medical treatment. She suffered from tuberculosis and wanted to live. But my day and night labor could not buy her life. I could not afford the exorbitant cost of her care. I would fast for 4 days at a time, and on the 5th, I would force a piece of bread down with water just to stay alive so my earnings could go toward her life. But the price of medicine was sky high. The doctors refused to even acknowledge me. Dr. Sterling was the premier expert in respiratory diseases. One morning, with hands folded, I stood at the magnificent gate of his estate. I was not allowed inside, so I waited for his car to emerge. When that tyrant finally drove out, I threw myself prostrate before his vehicle. I wept and begged for my mother's life, but he simply said he only discussed hospital matters. At the hospital, he only met those who paid his entry fee. Consequently, my mother died. When an orderly instructed me to take her unclaimed body, I went to the morgue. Her eyes seemed to hold a grievance against the entire world. I told her, I will change this world. From there, I went straight to Dr. Sterling's office and informed him, Doctor, my mother is dead. The doctor looked at me in shock and asked, Who are you? How did you get in without permission? Where is the clerk? Not far, doctor. His body is lying at the door, I replied. Another doctor sitting nearby tried to rise in panic, but my iron grip forced him back down. He tried to stop me, but it was necessary to see you. So, I relieved him of his duty. I finished. What madness is this? Did you truly kill him? Sterling asked in a trembling voice. Yes, doctor, believe me. How? Exactly like this. I seized the neck of the second doctor as he tried to rise for the 3rd time until his eyes bulged out of his head. Listen, doctor, my mother is dead. You wouldn't treat her. Now the whole world should die. Ask me how, I said, and the word escaped the doctor's lips involuntarily. How? Though I knew he wanted to say something else, he was in my trance at that moment. He said exactly what I asked. Then I stepped forward and seized his throat. People hit me with whatever they could find, chairs, vases, wooden decor. But who could save the doctor now? I sent him to join my mother to make amends for his mistake. The police arrested me. The magistrate sentenced me to death. But what was the point of dying so soon? Consequently, when they began taking me to prison after the sentencing, I killed 3 of them and escaped. I didn't stay in the country because I knew the federal police would never stop hunting me. My next destination was across the northern border, but I didn't care for the place, so I moved further south and spent a year there. Then, realizing I had done nothing but sit idle, I decided to act. This time, another tyrant died at my hands. His name was Harrison Pratt. He was a ruthless landowner who treated his tenants like livestock. I harvested him like a field, along with his son, who was his right hand. But that wretch didn't have just one hand. He had countless dirty dealings. Had a bullet not struck my leg, I would have escaped cleanly. But I had no experience running on one leg, so I was caught, and the magistrate there handed down the same death sentence. This was my second capital sentence. But real death came for the 5 guards watching my cell. A gang of prisoners, led by a man named Miller, included me in their escape plan because I found no difficulty in ripping iron-barred windows from the stone walls. I was the most valuable asset in the escape. I slaughtered those 5 guards as if I were chopping wood. Miller, pleased with my work, helped me get out of the country and into Western Europe. My 3rd death sentence came in a European nation, but it was commuted to life imprisonment. I spent 3 years in a European prison. It was hardly a prison, no beatings, No abuse, just refined killers and innocent-looking thieves. It felt as though even crime was committed with civility there. My heart wasn't in it, so I escaped and made my way to London. But the London police were sharp. Before a year had passed, I was identified. They captured me through cunning, and afterward, I was shuffled through various places. Perhaps they were showing a helpless prisoner the world. The real story begins with this journey. But this is the story of my death. I died in this case. When a man's oath dies, when the purpose of his life dies, he no longer has the right to call himself alive. I was killed by a girl named Noelle Boucher. Believe me, this innocent 13-year-old girl was the killer of a beastly man. I was traveling on a sea vessel, a ship belonging to a European company. I was brought to the pier where a strange commotion reigned. Hundreds of passengers boarding the ship were not prisoners like me. They were saying their farewells to friends and relatives. The rushing porters, the blaring car horns, the piles of luggage, and the constant calling out to one another created a fascinating scene. Among them was Mr. Boucher's family, traveling somewhere with his wife and young daughter. The ship was magnificent, but the prisoners were placed in its ugliest quarters. There were other prisoners traveling with me. I was the only one indifferent to the circumstances, lost in my own thoughts. But as the ship moved further out, the weather worsened. Less than 24 hours into the voyage, a storm seized us. Black clouds blanketed the sky, and torrential rain began. Panic broke out among the passengers as everyone scrambled for shelter. Gradually, massive waves rose in the ocean, and the ship began to toss violently in their grip. It felt like an earthquake. Sheets of rain slammed against the sealed windows and iron doors with full force. The storm intensified. Everything was colliding. A cry of fire broke out and grew louder. The prisoners stood up in terror, their faces gaunt with panic. Not long after, a guard rushed in, threw a ring of keys toward us, and said, "The ship is on fire. You're free to save your lives however you can." He fled before finishing, and chaos erupted among the prisoners. I was the last prisoner to exit. Stepping outside, it felt as if I had entered hell. The ship glowed like a torch upon the chest of the sea. Panic-stricken passengers were everywhere. Strange sights met my eyes, women weeping while clutching their children to their chests. I moved past these scenes until my gaze fell upon a young girl. She was 12 or 13, extraordinarily beautiful. Tears streamed from her large eyes, and I died. Yes, I died at that very moment. Those tears changed my life. For some reason, I felt a deep affection for those tears. My steps moved toward her involuntarily. When I placed my hand on her shoulder, she clung to me. "Uncle, my mommy, my daddy," she sobbed. "Where are they?" I asked. "They're dead," she said, pointing toward two bodies trapped under a massive fallen beam. I couldn't give them life, but saving Noel's life was now my responsibility, and I became devoted to her. With my own strength, I secured a small lifeboat and spent 70 days upon the sea. Finally, we saw land, a strange territory that I realized was the African coast the moment we stepped ashore. There was no choice but to move inland. Noel was happy here. The love I showed her had awakened a new life in her eyes. She called me uncle with great affection, and thinking of my past life, I would realize that the man I once was no longer existed. The paths were extremely difficult. We had to cross a terrifying bridge that seemed beyond human capability, but my courage didn't break. I wanted to return Noel to the civilized world as a new man, and so I pressed on to find an exit. We continued forward. Terrifying sights were scattered around us. The African landscape was stunning, but there was a savagery in its beauty. Predators, venomous creatures, and more. After crossing a marshy region, we entered a beautiful valley with a river flowing at its edge. "Uncle, water!" Noel cried out. "I see it, Noel. Come," I said, and we reached the riverbank. The water was crystal clear. One could see the colored stones shining at the bottom. Noel sat by the bank and drank. I quenched my thirst too. "It's a beautiful place, uncle." "Yes? Can I bathe in the water?" she asked. Certainly. I'll sit over there, I said, pointing toward a tree on the bank, and Noel stepped into the water. My heart held immense love for her. This innocent girl had changed the direction of my life, and I was now concerned for her future. My wish was to take her to the civilized world and give her a new life. Noelle moved through the clear water like a golden fish. She was incredibly happy, her joy evident on her face. Her beautiful hair was loose, waving in the water. During this time, I didn't look toward the bank once. I felt no need. But as I idly glanced at the water, I suddenly realized shadows were reflecting on the ripples. I started in surprise. Looking toward the bank, my eyes widened. There were countless individuals, strong, powerful bodies, dark and gleaming, holding long spears. White eyes and dark faces looked ferocious. They wore minimal clothing and were vast in number, spread far along the bank. I turned to look at the opposite bank and had to laugh. That side was also filled with them. They had surrounded us from both sides. Noelle hadn't noticed them yet. She was busy finding beautiful stones from the riverbed. Several stones were clutched in her fist. The water was so calm and slow-moving that it required no effort to stay afloat, which was why Noelle seemed unwilling to leave the river. I called out to her, and she looked at me with a smile. "What is it, uncle?" "Look at the bank," I said in a heavy voice, and Noelle looked. In the next moment, the smile vanished from her lips, and traces of terror appeared on her face. "Uncle, those dark people, are they ghosts?" she asked fearfully, quickly swimming closer to me. "No, they are human, just inhabitants of this region with dark skin." "Yes, I know that. They look like people back home, but different. They are unique, Noelle." "Yes, uncle, they look terrifying. But why are they standing there?" "Noelle, act wisely. Stay here. First I will get your clothes." "Oh yes, uncle, my clothes," she said in a panicked tone. I patted her shoulder and moved toward the bank. As I drew closer, they stepped back a pace. Her clothes were lying near the edge. I picked them up and turned back. They offered no objection. I reached Noelle. "But uncle, how can I dress here in the water?" "However possible, Noelle. These people don't seem to have come with ill intent," I said. "What do you mean?" she stammered. "Just get dressed, Noelle. We'll see what happens next," I said, and she managed to fix her clothes underwater with great difficulty. Then, taking her arm, I led her toward the bank. They stood perfectly still, eyes fixed on us both. Their manner was strange. It didn't seem like they wanted to take violent action, but something had to happen, or why else would they be there? I reached the bank and put Noelle behind my back. One man, somewhat short but broad-shouldered, stepped forward. He was shaking his spear. Reaching me, he held the spear in both hands, placed it across his chest, and gave a slight bow before standing straight. Their manner was not aggressive. They wanted to communicate. I asked who they were. He looked at me for a few moments, a look of respect on his face. Then he murmured, "Leader Zamba saw you from the impassable paths, using your wisdom to cross that impossible bridge, a feat only gods are imagined to achieve. Ordinary people dare not even go near it." Zamba said, "Go and bring this youth, but let there be no lack in his honor and respect. We have come to get you." "I am ready to go with you," I replied. He shouted the news to his companions and they began to gather around me. Those on the other bank crossed through the water to join us. We moved forward with them. The path ahead was undeniably the most beautiful. It was a trail leading to some unknown destination. We continued along it, surrounded by groups of them. Finally, we reached a large hilltop. I didn't know what was behind it, but crossing it, I saw a magnificent settlement of huts stretching as far as the eye could see. Small grass huts with stone-lined walls, scattered far and wide amidst beautiful greenery. There seemed to be no concept of farming. I didn't know what they did to pass the time. We were brought to a large hut, and the same man who had first spoken to me bowed and requested that I rest here. Noelle had been terrified coming with them, and even inside the hut, her face showed signs of dread. I looked at her with a smile. "What is it, Noelle? Are you feeling afraid?" "Uncle, They seem so savage. People back home have the same color, but they don't look like this. Who are they, and why did they bring us here? Whatever their purpose, Noel, you shouldn't fear them. They cannot harm you while I am here. I reassured her. No, uncle, I'm not scared. I'm quite brave. But these people are strange, and that worries me, she replied, and a smile spread across my lips. One couldn't yet judge why these people had captured us. Their behavior wasn't troublesome, but I had decided that if anything went wrong, I would do whatever I could to save Noel. She fell into deep thought. After a long silence, I addressed her. What are you thinking, Noel? Nothing special, uncle. Just wondering what we should do now. What do you want? I don't understand anything. I'm happy with you. You're so good that I wonder why you're so good. I just don't like all of this. It would be much better if we were in a city. We'll try to get to a city from here. You shouldn't worry, I said. Just then, a few of them entered our quarters with food and drink. Seeing these things, I began to form an opinion about them. At sunset, several came to me. One delivered a message from Zamba. Leader Zamba wishes to meet you and has summoned you. Will the girl go with me? I asked. He gave no instructions on that. It depends on your will, he replied. I took Noel with me, and passing through the huts, we reached the leader's dwelling, which had a wide courtyard in front. On a stone in this courtyard sat a massive, powerfully built man who had entered old age, though experience peeked through his ugly eyes. He looked me up and down, then nodded. You came by the impassable path, which is the path of death, where every attempt to cross proves fatal. Your name is Zamba? I asked. Yes, others must have told you. What do you do with strangers who enter your settlement? We do not welcome them. Firstly, no one has ever come by that path before. People sometimes come by other paths, and these are usually seekers of golden metal or shining stones from the mountains. They disregard life to obtain them. But those people possess foul thoughts. Long ago, we didn't object to their arrival. We cooperated. But then their actions hurt us. They would join us, deceive our girls, and then leave them. The goal was only to obtain golden metal and shining stones. Many of our people died because of them. Then the law forbade their entry. It said those coming for golden metal should be killed. Since then, we have followed this principle. So we ask the same of you. For example, I asked, have you also come in search of golden metal? No. Are you speaking the truth? Yes. If that is the case, you must swear before the idol of the law during morning worship. But listen, truth and lies become evident before the idol. If you lie, you will burn to ash. But if your words are true, we will honor you. If there is anything else, tell us so we may be satisfied. If I am found truthful, will you help me? What help do you seek? To reach the civilized world by another path. I promise I will not take a single piece of golden metal with me, nor will I harm any of your women, I said, and the leader nodded kindly. I promise that if you are true, I will help you fully. Thank you, leader, I said gratefully. Until then, you will face no hardship. Is your lodging comfortable? Entirely. Good, you may rest. You can express any need, the leader said. I want to know more from you, leader. What is your way of life? Does your tribe have a name? There must be other tribes settled around here. We are all called the Law people, and that is the name of our tribe. The goddess of the law is our guardian. Her magic is the greatest. Yes, those who try their own magic are criminals against the goddess. She abandons such criminals, and they are given 1,000 nights. In those 1,000 nights, they are free to use their foul magic. But after they end, they are turned to stone forever. They can see, they can think, they feel hunger and thirst, but they can neither die nor move. That is why few people try to override the goddess's magic. Occasionally some madman emerges and becomes a plague for the settlements, like the Shadow Man. Worry appeared on the leader's face. I was watching him closely. Who is the Shadow Man? I asked with interest. This tribe has been settled for centuries. We are not bad people. We are always peace-loving. Unlike other tribes, war and strife are not our way. The goddess of the law helps us, and those who cast an evil eye on us become terrified. But the reprieve of the law proves destructive for the unfortunate among us. The reprieve of the law? I asked inquisitively. Yes, I told you about this. The madman who asks for the magic of 1,000 nights and then spends his whole life as stone. But in those 1,000 nights, he is free. Such a person, in any era, has been a source of trouble for others. And unfortunately, my era is the era of the reprieve. And in this era, the Shadow Man exists. I see. Where does the Shadow Man live? And how does he treat your people? He is a demon and we are helpless before him. Every woman of the tribe is his wife. He may call whoever he wishes to himself. We all live as his slaves. He makes life miserable for anyone he hates. Consequently, to please him, we must do what none of us wish to do. Every 7 days, he drinks the blood of one human, and one of us must be sacrificed for this. There were traces of grief in the leader's voice. You cannot kill him? No, our power is nothing against his magic. If you want to kill him, you can try. The goddess does not forbid it. No, he is a demon. How can killing a demon be forbidden? But who can overcome him? The leader said sadly. Has anyone killed such a person in the past? Those he oppresses make such attempts, but they fail, the leader replied. Where does he live? Among you? No, he lives in the clefts of the Black Mountains. When he wishes, he comes, and we are all helpless before him, the leader explained. You mentioned morning worship. Yes, we worship the rising sun. Tomorrow morning, you will join this worship. At what time? Before sunrise? Does the Shadow Man also participate in this worship? I asked. What business does a demon have with worship? He is indifferent to every ritual. Thank you, leader. I am very grateful for this cooperation. I will participate in tomorrow's worship, and then you will be convinced of my truth. Then I rose from the leader's presence. Noelle had remained silent during this time. There was confusion in her eyes. Obviously, she wouldn't have understood the conversation. When we came out, she shook my arm and said, What happened to you both, uncle? When, Noelle? You were both speaking in some unknown way. I didn't understand anything. It was their language. I was speaking to them in their tongue. It sounded very strange to me. What was he saying? He was saying he would help us reach civilized settlements. He has become our friend. He has offered that we stay with them for a few days and see the place. This place is very beautiful, uncle. Yes, and their way of life is unique. When they celebrate, they perform wild dances. Oh, so will they celebrate? Yes, but not yet. If you don't mind spending a few days here, we'll see their celebration before we go. Fine. I like their way of life very much, Noelle said happily and fell silent. I began to reflect on Leader Zamba's words. The Shadow Man was an interesting figure to me. I decided to participate in the next day's worship. Initially, I thought of going alone, but it wasn't right to leave Noelle alone in the hut, and she might enjoy this unique event. But when I tried to wake her before sunrise, she wouldn't wake up. She was in a deep sleep. So I went out myself. I hadn't asked for details about the place of worship, but I had no trouble finding it. I caught one of the dark-skinned men by the shoulder. He stopped in surprise. Do you not participate in morning worship? I asked. I am going, but you? I will go with you. You? He spoke with startling interest. Yes? Why are you surprised? Because you are not one of us. Your worshipping would be surprising for us. Regardless, take me to your place of worship. Come with me, he said, and I followed. He headed toward the field behind the huts. I had come from the other side, so the back was still hidden from my sight. In the dim light, the atmosphere seemed very beautiful and mysterious. A vast field stretched out behind, ending in a range of black mountains as far as the eye could see. These mountains were the opposite of the surrounding beauty. Their ugliness was strange amidst the beautiful meadows. I watched the scene with interest. Fires were burning between them. My guide stopped, and I looked at him. This is the field of worship. The fire burning in the center is a reflection of the sun. This fire represents the sun's fire, and we worship it, my guide said. But my friend, not many people have come here yet. Does the whole settlement not worship? I asked. Does anyone dare not to? Every person waits for the sun's arrival in this field. Just watch for a few moments. The time hasn't come yet, he said, and I nodded silently. All these things were very fascinating to me. I was lost in thought when I saw clouds of white smoke emerging from the fire. A strange, unique fragrance spread everywhere. Presumably, something fragrant had been thrown into the sacrificial fire. Simultaneously, shouts began to rise from all sides, and the field rapidly filled with people. A first row, a second row, the ranks filled quickly. Between the rows, men were performing a disorganized, wild dance. It looked as though the earth were vomiting dark, naked men. Then I heard a voice, and it was Zamba's voice. Zamba was shouting, "Stranger from outside, wherever you are, come to me. I am near the great fire." And the call was for me. Consequently, I began moving through the crowd. My companion was momentarily surprised. After a few seconds, I reached Zamba. Zamba was right near the fire, and I had no trouble finding him because the flames illuminated his face. Near Zamba were 4 elderly men with hair flowing down in matted locks. Their bodies were also bare, covered in strange tattoos and markings, the kind I had seen people making on their bodies before. Leader Zamba called me right next to him, and then for the first time, I saw the unique statue, which was quite large. The goddess carved from black stone possessed strange features, extremely ugly features, though a failed attempt had been made to give the rest of the body a feminine form. Regardless, this was the goddess of the law, before whom I had to take a sacred oath. I stood near them. The worship began. Gradually the sun was rising, and with it, their fervor increased. They were making so much noise, shouting so loudly that you couldn't hear a word. Men, women, elderly, children, everyone was there, all shouting like madmen. It was a unique worship, and I was thinking that Noel must have woken up in the hut. With that thought, I became a little worried. Regardless, getting out of the crowd was not easy. Anyway, I had promised to satisfy Zamba. Consequently, I watched their worship in silence. Then, as the first ray of sun appeared, they all suddenly fell silent. After such loud shouts, this silence seemed very strange and unique. I watched their movements with bated breath. For a few seconds, they remained silent while the sun continued to rise. Then, when the sun fully emerged, they were satisfied. The worship was over. Then Zamba said with a smile, "My friend, for some reason, I believe your words. Although our religion does not allow us to trust someone who is not of our faith, whether a stranger or someone who hasn't proven their truth before the goddess. However, I want you to provide proof of your truth." "What do you want?" I said. "Come forward," Zamba said, and moved before the idol of the goddess. Then Zamba signaled to an old man, who came near us. Zamba addressed the old man. "Great elder, the man who came by the impassable paths says he is a lost soul who reached here by the sea. Coming here was not his purpose, nor did he come in search of shining stones and golden metal. He wishes to leave this place. In this regard, he has come before the goddess of the law to prove his truth. I have said that if he takes an oath before the goddess and proves he is not a seeker of shining stones, I will help him. According to tribal law, if this man also came here for shining stones and golden metal, then we can offer him no help and he will be sacrificed at the feet of the goddess. And if he is not our enemy, we will take him to those regions from where he can return to his world. Consequently, great elder, take this sacred oath from him." The old man bowed and turned toward a large wooden vessel containing a special wood dust, the fragrance of which filled the air. "Come near me," the old man's trembling voice rose, and I went near him. "Those who take a false oath before the goddess turn into a heap of ash. Go, take a handful of this fragrance and throw it into the fire." I followed his instructions. Fragrant white smoke rose from the fire and spread through the air. The leader moved closer to me. Then the old man said, "Yes, tell us, what is your purpose in coming?" As I already told Leader Zamba, I reached here from a shipwrecked vessel, and there is no purpose in coming this way except to reach the civilized world. If there is a lie in this, then according to your belief, I must surely be harmed. The leader's eyes turned toward the goddess. but no noteworthy event occurred. And the leader stepped forward and embraced me. Yes, I accept you as truthful, and now I have no doubt. I will fulfill my promise. I patted the leader's back, and the leader led me away. After the worship ended, other people of the settlement also began to return, and the field was becoming empty. I am sure you didn't take offense at this. No, there's nothing to take offense at, leader. It was necessary to satisfy you, and I was certain because I didn't lie. Then give me 2 days' grace. I will arrange your journey so you face no hardship on the way. The path to the civilized world is long and has some such difficult stages that a man becomes troubled. I am not worried for myself, leader, but that girl is my responsibility. Had it been only about me, I would have spent a long time here trying to do something for you too. Thank you. Regardless, rest assured, I will arrange your return within 2 days. Your truth has impressed me. Now allow me to go, the leader said near my hut, and I nodded. The leader left and I entered the hut. I thought Noelle must have woken up and would have been terrified by the noises, and my thought proved correct. She wasn't in the place where I had left her. I looked around, but Noelle wasn't in the hut. The poor girl must have gone out looking for me, weeping in terror. I rushed outside and then searched all the places around the hut where Noelle might possibly have gone, but she wasn't there. Had she gone quite far? Possibly toward the field. But the field now lay deserted except for the fire, which was still burning brightly. Then I called her loudly, but there was no answer. I became somewhat worried. Returning from there, I caught a dark-skinned man and said to him, "There was a girl with me. Have you seen her?" He looked at me in surprise and shook his head. "She's lost. Is she not in the place where you are staying?" he asked. "No, she's not there." "When did you leave her?" "When we all went for worship," I replied, and the man began to shake his head in astonishment. "At that time, there isn't a soul in the settlement. The whole place becomes empty. You shouldn't have left her here." Instead of listening to the man's advice, I thought it better to go and search for Noelle, and then for a long time, I wandered through every corner of the settlement looking for her. I asked countless people about her, and not finding Noelle, I headed toward the leader's quarters. Dark-skinned guards were present outside. They informed Zamba of my arrival, and Zamba emerged from his hut. A smile spread across his lips. Then he asked simply, "Have I come to see you for some special work?" "Yes, Zamba. The girl who was with me is missing from my hut." "What do you mean?" Zamba stepped forward several paces. "She is not in my hut." "Where did she go, and when?" "At the time I went for worship, she was sleeping in the hut, but when I returned, she wasn't in her place. Afterward, I searched for her in the field, everywhere, in every corner around the settlement, but she wasn't found." "Is that so?" Zamba said. "Yes, Zamba, she isn't there. Please, leader, help me find her." Certainly. This is not even a matter for you to ask," Zamba replied, and then moved forward quickly. Zamba gathered a few individuals and gave them various instructions. He told them that every person in the settlement should search for the girl. Rather, every hut, every place, they should go far around the settlement and search for the girl. The girl must be found within a few hours at all costs. The people heard Leader Zamba's instructions and ran in all directions. Some worry had developed in my manner. I also feared that some accident had befallen Noelle, or she had hidden somewhere in terror. Regardless, these people had gone to search for her. Leader Zamba asked me to stay with him, and then he invited me to sit in his hut, and we both went inside. Coming inside, we both sat in our seats. "There's no need to worry, friend. Obviously, that girl won't go very far. She's not so senseless as to go deep into the jungles. My swift runners will find her. Rest assured about this," Leader Zamba said. "She must be found at any cost. Believe me, the direction of my life has changed because of her. Otherwise, I don't know where I would be. Certainly, she is our guest, and you are also under my protection. Therefore, do not worry. It is our responsibility to find her and hand her over to you," Leader Zamba said with great confidence, and I sat with him for a long time. The leader would say something every now and then. Suddenly, under a certain thought, he started and said in a worried tone, "Was she fully dressed? Was anything left in the hut that would indicate someone took her against her will? What do you mean? I asked, startled. Come with me. Come with me. The leader rose. I didn't know what was in his mind. He walked with me toward my hut. Then he went inside and looked, and remained silent for a moment. What has happened? He said in a strange manner, and I looked at him in worry. What happened, leader? Has some specific thought come to your mind? A smell, a foul and demonic smell. I feel it right here in this hut, and this is the smell of the body of that wretched man who is a stain on our honor. Leader, please tell me in clear words, what do you mean? The shadow man, wherever he goes, his body's foul smell remains, and it lingers in the air for a long time. He is a very filthy man. So you mean he came into this hut? I asked in a ferocious tone. My friend, if my experience isn't wrong, but wait, I'll call someone. He will be able to pinpoint this correctly, Leader Zamba said, and went outside. Then he asked someone to be called, and after a few moments, the same old man who was addressed as the elder was in the hut. The old man stepped into the hut and stopped. Zamba, I smell the shadow man, he said in a trembling voice. The leader grabbed his head with both hands. I was watching them both in silence. Then I stepped forward and said, What do you both think? Please tell me too. It's a complete coincidence that I told you about that demon shadow man. I believe the shadow man has taken the girl. But why? I asked in a thundering voice. What can be said about that demon? But that wretch has done a very bad thing. Elder, tell us. What should be done now? We are all helpless before him. What can anyone do? The old man showed his helplessness. Where will he be found, leader? You're asking about the shadow man? Yes. That wretch's lair is in those mountains that you saw at the far end of the worship field. But finding it is impossible. Leader, this impossible must be made possible. Anyway, this is against the principles of hospitality. Believe me, my friend, I am ashamed. We have felt the shadow man smell here, so our thought went that way. But if you can also rid us of that pest, we will call you our savior. I gave no answer. I had brought Noelle through such hardships where death was certain. I didn't want to lose her here, but if Noelle wasn't found, then I couldn't say what my behavior toward these people would be. Zamba was a truthful man. There was no flaw in his intent. Regardless, I was severely worried for Noelle. Then I said to the leader, I need weapons. Yes, certainly. Come with me. The leader took me to his hut and then stood me before a stockpile of weapons and said, Take whatever you like from this. I took a weapon of my choice and came out. After midday, I headed toward the Black Mountains. I had never seen such a unique mountain range before. Every single rock was so smooth that it was difficult to maintain a footing. I wandered looking for that cave, but the sun set and I saw no cave. There was intense anger in my heart. Had the shadow man met me, I would have drunk his blood, I thought, but suddenly some words of the leader echoed in my mind. I walked back in silence. The poor leader was busy in efforts of his own. He saw my face, took a cold breath, and bowed his head. Then he said, You will fail to find that cave. Yes, but I don't want failure, leader, my friend. What should I do for you? You said, leader, that he drinks the blood of someone from the tribe. Yes, the leader started. What is the method? I asked. Just on the night of the sinking moon, a youth is sent into the Black Mountains at a specific spot, bathed in fragrances. And afterward, his blood-drained body is picked up from there. How many days are left until that night? Only a few. But why? This time you will send me, leader, I said, and the leader became lost in some thought. Traces of sorrow and grief appeared on his face. When I returned to my hut, I suddenly jumped. Noelle was in the hut. Her back was toward me. Noelle! I rushed toward her involuntarily, and she turned her head at my voice. But this was Noelle? I remained silent in my place. Noelle's eyes had become several times larger than normal. Her jaws were hanging, and red teeth were visible, as if she had drunk someone's blood. Drops of blood were frozen on her chin below her lips. I was stunned. This terrifying face of Noel was strange to me. Noel kept smiling at me, but there wasn't that childhood and that innocence in those eyes that came with Noel's age. In those eyes was a quality as if she were a hungry cat. Then she stepped forward a few paces and reached near me. I caught her hair in my fist, and she suddenly jumped. "Noel, what has happened to you?" "Uncle," she spoke softly. Her manner was like a sob. "Oh, Noel, are you okay?" I asked. "Where did you leave me and go, Uncle?" People were shouting so loudly. "I was scared, Uncle. Tell me, where did you leave me and go?" "How is your health, Noel?" I asked sympathetically. "I'm okay, Uncle." "Now that you've come." "Yes, Noel, but you were scared." "Yes." Very loud shouting noises were coming. "Then what happened, Noel?" I said, looking at her intently. "Nothing, Uncle." "Then you came," she said innocently. I thought for a while, and then I headed toward the leader's hut. Noel was with me. Zamba jumped seeing Noel. "Where was she found?" he said happily. But in the next moment his lips tightened. A mysterious quality appeared in his manner. Then he shook his head in disappointment. "Oh, she has become the Shadow Man's prey." "What do you mean?" "Certainly. The one who took her was the Shadow Man, and now she is his property. He can obtain her whenever and wherever he wishes." "But how?" I asked in a worried tone. "She will not go anywhere without his company. Now she is captured in his city," the leader said. "How is this possible? Give me a command, my friend. I will do whatever you say. I want to leave here with her immediately." "Despite this information?" "Yes. Then stay here. I will make arrangements." "I wish you could escape that wretch's terrifying trap this way," the leader said, and then went out. I looked at Noel with worried eyes. She now appeared innocent again. "Noel," I addressed her. "Yes, Uncle? What are you thinking?" "You look a bit worried, Uncle." No. Child, if I was worried, it was only for you. Since you're okay, there's no worry now." "Uncle, was I sick or something?" "I don't remember that this morning when people were shouting and I woke from sleep. You weren't there. After that, how did it become evening, Uncle?" "I don't know, Uncle, how it became like this. Why don't I remember the day's events? Had I fallen asleep?" she asked, and I kept looking at her with strange eyes. "Yes, Noel, child, you had fallen asleep. But now tell me, are you ready for a journey?" "A journey?" Noel asked in surprise. "Yes, a journey." "But why, Uncle? Are we leaving here? But why so soon, Uncle?" "Just, Noel. Leader Zamba has gone to arrange horses. We will leave this settlement today, right now, and go somewhere else," I said, and Noel began to look at me. "At night, Uncle?" she asked in surprise. "Yes, child, at night." "But where will we go?" "Their guide riders will take us to a specific spot. From there we will head toward our world." "Uncle, that is my heart's desire. Uncle, how soon will these people go with us?" "I think in a little while," I said, and No began to look happy. On her face was the same innocence I had seen before, but the fear of the leader's words also remained in my mind, lest the leader's words prove true. Poor leader Zamba was cooperating fully with me. He didn't look any less worried than I was. 6 horsemen were ready to guide us. Additionally, there were 3 more horses, 2 for our riding and 1 horse loaded with necessary supplies. The leader came to see me off at the settlement boundary. He was still worried. "I couldn't treat you better in my settlement, young man, for which I will be ashamed for a long time. My prayer is that with the help of the goddess of the law, you escape that demon's trap. But if you feel any difficulty, my friend, consider Zamba your friend and come to him." "I will remember this friendship, Zamba," I replied, and after taking leave, we set off. Night travel in a dangerous region of Africa was considered very terrifying. Wild and ferocious predators wandered all around, and in dark nights, the danger increased even more. Those Zamba had sent with us were very fearless and experienced people. All night they traveled with us without tiring. In the morning, we found ourselves in a lush, green forest. The forest wasn't very dense, and greenery spread under the trees. I stopped the horse under an extremely thick, shaded tree. There was fatigue on Noel's face. "Are you very tired, Noel?" "Very, uncle," Noel replied. "Then rest now. It's a fine place," I said, and then began talking to my guide riders. I had made a program to rest until midday and travel after midday so we could stay at a suitable place at night. The riders agreed. They arranged rest for us and then began preparing food. The leaders had specifically instructed them to take care of our comfort. Noelle was now balanced. The same innocence had appeared in her manner, but I was uneasy about her. Midday passed, and then we began preparations for travel again. A little while later, we were crossing this forest. Because we had rested and fatigue was gone, we traveled until the darkness became quite deep. Then we again made arrangements for a suitable resting place. This was a mountainous region. High hills were scattered all around. There were trees here and there. Selecting a beautiful spot, we stopped there. So far, the journey had been peaceful. No noteworthy event had occurred. After dinner, Noelle spoke with me for a long time. She herself didn't understand how this pleasant journey would end. She had no knowledge of what had happened to her. Then she lay down to sleep as usual. I also lay down a short distance from her. Some distance away, the guards were resting. They were waking in pairs. Zamba had served us selflessly. I was very impressed by him. But I could do nothing for the poor man. It was the moon of the final night. At first, there was darkness. Then gradually light began to show. My eyes had just become drowsy when I felt someone near me and started. Noelle was at my bedside. "Can't sleep?" I asked with a smile. She also smiled, but a certain change was visible in her. No specific event had occurred, but after a few moments, my feeling was confirmed. She moved closer to me. "I want to become a woman. I have grown up." Her voice rose, and I jumped. "Noelle," I said, glaring at her. "Come to your senses. I want to be in your embrace. Do not disappoint me, or..." And my full hand struck her mouth. She fell several feet away. "Fine. You do not accept me. I am going." The matter had gone too far. I couldn't leave her to herself. Consequently, I lunged and caught her, and then my hand struck the back of her neck, and she fell unconscious on the ground. I picked her up and laid her back in her place. For a long time I sat near her, thinking about her. The dark-skinned guards were peacefully in their place. They had no knowledge of the situation. For a long time, I sat there, and then I lay down near her again. The moon continued its journey. The air was so pleasant that sleep was descending into my eyes, and then it overcame my senses and I slept again. This time the guards woke me. Light was emerging from between two mountains. They were shaking me. I woke with a start. "Your companion girl took a horse and went that way. We have sent 2 men after her," a guard said, and I took a deep breath. I became even more entangled. We also managed our horses and galloped in that direction. The sun had risen, but no trace of them could be found. This was the same direction from which we had come, and now we were heading back toward the settlement. My heart wanted to throw Noelle into hell and move on. But then I would think she was innocent. This was just the Shadow Man's demonic trick. I would not let that demon succeed. No matter what, I would not let the Shadow Man succeed. My teeth clenched, and we traveled without stopping. In the evening, as the sun set, we reached the settlement where we met Zamba and the 2 guards. The guards were in a bad state. Their bodies were scorched, and flesh had come off in places. Perhaps they had also reached Zamba. There was a deathly pallor on Zamba's face. He looked at me and said disappointedly, "I had told you before. What happened to them both?" I asked, looking at the 2 guards in distress. "Hear it from them," Zamba said. "What happened to you both?" I asked. "We were chasing the girl to the Black Mountains. She disappeared into the mountains with the horse. We were wandering in the mountains when suddenly flames erupted from the rocks and we were caught in them. Our horses were killed. We barely managed to escape. This is the act of no one but that demon," Zamba said. No trace of the girl could be found. I glared at them with ferocious eyes. No sign of her could be found. Zamba, arrange for their treatment. I am sorry that you had to face severe trouble because of me. I will see how great a magician he is." At night, Zamba sat with me for a long time. He was very disappointed and was speaking of disappointment to me too. "Believe me, my friend, I have no objection to your wish. But as a guest, I want to save you from this danger. I accept your sincerity from my heart, but now this is necessary for me. Besides, what else can I do?" The next day, at my request, Zamba took me to where the prey of 1,000 knights were living their stone lives. It was a very mysterious region. Zamba was telling me about these people who outwardly appeared as black stone statues. It was astonishing to hear they were once human. He tried to terrify me by telling me the demons' legends, but fear had no place near me. All these people were those who had made the settlement sleep forbidden with their powers. They did everything they could, and whoever's life lasted, they drank as much human blood as they could. Countless individuals became victims of death, and their lives ended this way. So, my friend, my honored guest, it is not proper that you present yourself as the youth who is sent into the Shadow Man's service, so he may quench his bloodthirst with him. We are used to this, and this is our fate. The plant of sin was sown in our land and should be irrigated with our blood. You have come here for a few days. Why should your life be put in danger? No, Zamba, it's not possible that I leave that girl here and move on to save my own life. Consequently, let me be firm in the decision I've made and help me." Zamba bowed his head. Then he spoke in a dead voice. "Fine. If you are so insistent, I will be silent." The moon was completing its journey of the final nights. Then one night it sank. Consequently, it was the final night of the sinking moon, and in the final watch of that night, that youth was to be sent into the Black Mountains, who this time was ready to be the Shadow Man's target. In these few days, no trace of Noel could be found, and my heart wept tears of blood for her. I remembered that quality of Noel's that was expressed that night. On innocent Noel's face were the emotions of a grown woman, and my heart was in no way ready to accept this. Leader Zamba was quite disappointed. He didn't even want to come in my way. Consequently, in the final watch of the dark night, he bid me farewell, and I headed toward the Black Mountains. Zamba had told me what I had to do there. My mind was drowned in strange thoughts. I was thinking that I had no cure for these demonic powers. Then I called upon those true emotions of the law. I thought that I had stepped on the path of truth. I needed help from the heavens, and I saw a light. A marble statue appeared before me, and its metallic voice rose. "Those of the heavens are companions of truth. I am the goddess of the law, and this shining red stone is your property, which will ultimately become the death of the Shadow Man." She handed a shining red stone to me and said, the metallic voice was heard again, "His 1,000 nights of magic are complete, and he is negligent. He has forgotten the count of days. Go, the one above will protect you and give him death." Her marble form dissolved into the air. I stood surprised, holding that red stone in my hand. For some reason, I felt a sense of fearlessness in my being. It felt as if now there was only success and success for me. In the darkness, I was traveling toward those mountains. A little while later, I entered that horrific darkness. That spring of which Zamba had told me was right there, and under a lone tree there, a torch was lit, which I had already known. I stood under the tree, and my eyes began wandering all around. Then suddenly I heard a voice from behind. "I am thirsty. How thirsty I am. Who will quench my thirst? Will you?" He suddenly appeared before me. In the torchlight, I saw his foul face, a horrific face indeed. He was dark-skinned, of course. His lower lip hung to his chin, and his long teeth were visible. His nose was hooked like a parrot's beak. His body was quite powerful. "Will you quench my thirst?" he asked, then muttered to himself, "Who are you? You are not from this settlement." I see the companion of that girl. Yes, that is you. I saw you on the morning of worship. But this Zamba is very cunning. He thought to get rid of you. Fine, no matter. But what will you drink? Your blood? I replied. Oh, truly. Drink, drink. Take this dagger and thrust it wherever you wish. He handed a long dagger to me. I looked at it intently. For a moment, I was dazed. Quench your thirst, or quench mine. I took the dagger from his hand. The shadow man opened his chest and came before me. I knew there must be something special in this offer. Still, I wanted to see. I thrust the dagger into his chest with full force. It felt as if I had thrust the dagger into a piece of wood. Then I pulled it out and thrust it in various places into the shadow man's body, but not a single drop of blood came out. The shadow man laughed in a foul manner. Now what should I do? There is no blood in my body. Now you allow me. Fine, I said, and returned the dagger to the shadow man. He took the dagger from my hand. Suddenly, he began jumping and leaping in a wild manner, and then, with extreme brutality, he tried to thrust that dagger into my neck. But the dagger's edge bent. Given the force with which it was struck into my neck, it should have been the first and last time. But he looked at the bent dagger again in surprise, and then straightened it with his fingers. This time he thrust the dagger into my chest, but this time the dagger was no longer capable of being straightened. Is your body made of stone? He said in a wild manner. No, Shadow Man, rather, your power is gone. Perhaps you couldn't keep count of those days. The 1,000 nights are complete, Shadow Man, and this night is mine. I said, and the Shadow Man became silent. Perhaps he was calculating those days. In the next moment he leaped in one direction and entered a cave. But would I leave his pursuit now? I also entered the cave. A severe blast of stench hit my nose. I searched for the Shadow Man, but in that spacious cave, I didn't see him. However, there was another tunnel-like opening ahead. Torches were fixed to the walls in the spacious cave, and their light presented an extremely terrifying scene. Throughout the cave lay the skeletons of dead animals. Here and there human skeletons were also present, with rotting flesh sticking to them. Besides these, there were other such foul things. I moved toward that tunnel, and at the other end of the tunnel, I saw another bright cave. The light in this cave was very intense. I entered without hesitation. This cave wasn't very spacious. Ahead sat a white throne, embedded with high-quality jewels, and the cave was illuminated by the light of these stones. The foul Shadow Man was sitting on this throne. He had also lifted his feet, and behind him on a chair sat Noel as well. But in that terrifying and horror-filled face in which I had seen her that night, the day she was abducted. On her lips was a terrifying smile. There were traces of terror on the Shadow Man's face. Who are you? Who are you? He said in a frightened voice. Are you terrified, Shadow Man? No, absolutely not. You can do nothing to me. Try and see. I am so far from you that you cannot even reach me. I am thousands of miles from you. Understand? Thousands of miles, he said. Perhaps you've also gone mad. Kill me. Come. Drink my blood, you. I said, moving forward. A mistake has been made. I'll see Zamba. I'll see the settlement people. If I don't drink the blood of the whole settlement, then my name isn't. Why did he send you? Now there's nothing but trouble for him, the Shadow Man said. I was moving forward as before, and in a moment, I felt a unique sensation. The distance between me and the Shadow Man should have been covered in a few steps. I moved forward continuously, but the distance remained as it was. For a moment, I stopped, and at that very moment, the wretched Shadow Man laughed. Come, come, why have you stopped? Try to reach me. You won't be able to cover this distance in your whole life. Keep moving. But I stopped right there. This situation was surprising, and the Shadow Man realized that I had failed here. Consequently, his terror was gradually disappearing. But he hadn't placed his feet on the ground and was sitting in the same way. Then he said, This throne is my final refuge. As long as my feet are up, you won't be able to reach me. It's possible, but your goddess of the law gave me this red stone and said that your death is hidden in this. If this is useless, then what do I have to do with it? I tossed the stone onto his throne. A flash of lightning occurred. The throne fell into flames, and the Shadow Man's agonizing screams began to rise. In a few moments, his existence was turned to ash. I looked toward Noel, who was standing as if she had woken from a dream. "What is it, uncle?" she asked innocently. "Nothing. Come," I said in a heavy voice. Now I was free. It felt as if the goddess of the law was continuously guiding me. My faith didn't accept these things. But the magic stories of the African land are not unknown. A few days later, I entered a civilized settlement and then, after traveling who knows where, came to London. Amidst the centers of civilized populations, in the peaceful atmosphere of London, life was settling. Had I come here in my original life, I would have thought of myself. But now this emotion, this thought of mine, was for Noelle. This girl had long ago killed the rebel who was the enemy of the world. In the ship, her tears had killed me. Now only the true emotions of my heart were alive. But what should I do to give Noelle a beautiful life? I wandered amidst the grand buildings. There was no place for us anywhere. There was no means of spending a life. My heart was torn, seeing Noelle's unkempt clothing and hunger. Then one day, when she became exhausted from hunger, I asked myself for a loan. I adopted my ancient story for just a few moments, for a short period. Not for myself, for Noelle. The stories of that terrifying robbery in London remained the highlight of the newspapers for several days, in which a single robber killed 5 individuals and looted the bank. But after that, staying in London was inviting death, because the modern police of a modern country were quite clever. After a long journey from here, after a long time, I once again came to that very land from whose soil I was formed. Noelle was with me. She had complete trust in me. She had no one in the world besides me. I bought a plot of land on the outskirts of the capital. I built a beautiful house and began living life as a well-reputed man instead of a notorious robber and fugitive criminal.
If these stories stayed with you longer than expected, like, share, and subscribe for more stories that refuse to fade.